Hello, welcome to what I found interesting in the world of astronomy this week. This time, painting satellites black. So first, the story. As I'm sure people with an interest in astronomy know, US company SpaceX is launching a large number of satellites in a program called Starlink. The idea is to massively increase the scale of satellite-based internet. So, to give you an overview, satellite-based internet essentially means you can use a network of satellites linked to ground stations called gateways. Stick a satellite dish at the end user, so say your house, and you can get decent internet speeds without cable, as long as you have the network of satellites and the gateways. It's already used on a fairly small scale for rural internet access in some places. A good example of this is the Australian government has a couple that serve internet on the smaller islands around Australia. But now SpaceX are out of the blocks in an idea that a fair few companies are interested in. Do that, but on a large scale. We're talking thousands of small satellites with the ability to provide internet to vast areas of Earth. And the ability then, of course, to compete with cable, which in a lot of places has a practical monopoly, where it's very hard to put in the enormous amount of cable to give people's internet, so you end up with this monopoly of one cable company, and perhaps they can break into that and make a lot of money. And what they've done is they've started sending their first wave up. And one of the things that was noticed was that they were appearing in astronomers' images. Now, this is a pain for astronomy. Any unwanted detail you have makes it even harder for your ground-based systems to detect what they're actually looking for. And with the plan being to launch thousands of these satellites, you can't just look in another direction while they pass, or manoeuvre and avoid them. They're going to be in your image. Now, it's very much worth mentioning this isn't just a grumpy academic problem. Some of the research being done using these ground-based telescopes is important for humanity now. A good example of this is searching for near-Earth asteroids. Fairly obviously something we want to do well, and reducing the impact these satellites have on the observations of those then should be a good thing. So, the solution at the moment? SpaceX are testing painting one of the bottoms of the satellites black. In their January the 6th launch, they sent up a satellite with the bottom painted black, and they now have a comparison between the painted and unpainted satellites, so we should be able to tell what difference it makes on how bright they are. One thing I haven't really seen discussed, which I'd like to point out, is the disadvantages of this. You see, on the surface, it's such an obvious idea, and you might think that maybe your kid could come up with it, and that why on earth didn't they do this straight away? Now, I don't have some magic insider knowledge, I don't know their reasons, but I'd like to explain in general why painting a satellite is not that easy a solution. So, first, let's talk a bit about space debris. I'll link to an article about the impact of a very tiny impactor, no more than a few thousandths of a millimetre across, on the ISS. It was believed to be either a small fleck of paint or a metal fragment hitting the window. And you can see thousandths of a millimetre across the massive damage it did, the big divot in this window. Now, it wasn't harmful damage in that case, but it shows that even something incredibly tiny can do a lot of harm. And there's another interesting problem, which is that things crashing at that speed could lead to a small cloud of plasma being produced around the impactor. So, you've now got a potential danger to electrical equipment. As I said, it's not dangerous to the ISS, but of course, if you want fleets of thousands of relatively low-cost satellites, you may have some nerves about this, especially with the idea that they might weaken or put cracks in your armour before a stronger blow or a larger object hits. And chipped off paint is fairly likely to happen in space, certainly compared to, say, metal components breaking off, or flecks of metal coming off. So it's worth being very cautious before you go about painting thousands of satellites. You can, of course, try to reduce this, make paint that's very difficult to remove, and use incredibly thin layers. But then this leads in to your second problem, which is cost. This is not something that you can just get a scrawny old teenager with a roller to do. You need quality equipment, You need the time and expertise in a good clean room to get the job done. And when you're doing that for thousands of satellites, it's understandable for SpaceX to have held back on painting their satellites, especially as they seem to have been brighter than the company had first predicted they would be. So overall, it's an interesting problem they're faced with. I hope I've told you a few things slightly different about this experiment with painting the satellite dark. I've read a few news articles on it, but I haven't really seen much even trying to explain why that simple solution wasn't just done straight away. I also haven't really seen much on why astronomers are unhappy with this, that links it back to things that are definite usefulness to humanity. Just pointing out that asteroid searching in near-Earth orbit is something that I think is worth doing. That's all I want to talk about for this week though, so until next time, goodbye.